HRC warns Anheuser Busch may lose perfect employer rating over dropping Dylan Mulvaney. The Human Rights Campaign, also known as HRC, could dock Anheuser Busch's 100% rating awarded for the support it offers LGBTQ+ employees, because of the company's response to the backlash to TikTok star Dylan Mulvaney's BudLight advert. The beer brand sparked an intense backlash last month after sending trans TikToker Mulvaney a single can of BudLight to celebrate her 365th day of public transition. The following week saw people smashing bottles of Bud Light in stores, musician Kid Rock shooting cans with an assault weapon, bars refusing to sell the beer, and even Texas Republican Ted Cruz threatening to open an investigation into the brand. After the controversy, Anheuser-Busch's chief executive caved to the pressure by issuing a lukewarm statement saying the company never meant to be part of any discussion that divides people. Now, HRC has warned that the brewer may face losing its perfect corporate equality index score. According to USA Today, the HRC reportedly wrote to Anheuser-Busch suspending its equality score and warning that it has 90 days to respond. Eric Bloom, HRC Senior Director of Programs and Corporate Advocacy, said the company is yet to respond to the letter. HRC holds all the might to make it happen. It suspended Netflix Corporate Equality Index score for the way the streaming service provided handling comedian Dave Chappelle's transphobic comments in 2021. Anheuser-Busch, they've been a big advocate for our community and stuff, and they're thrown in the middle of another one of these fights over something that shouldn't be a conversation that we need to be dealing with. Continue on from the story before a little bit. Your community, because you've we introduced you as trans, how are you seeing this? Because where is the fear on your level? You fit in, but for so many, they don't necessarily fit in. And
you mean?
Yes, passable is what I meant. I'm sorry. I'd just be curious.
Yeah, that's, I think, the big fear for a lot of these things is people who don't pass or people who are cisgender but might not fit in and even align with what people are expecting.
Right.
Like bathroom bans have affected cis women just as much as trans women, or maybe not just as much, but have impacted. And it impacts everyone because it's coming back to them trying to enforce rigid gender norms. And I think it definitely was a cop-out on the side of Anheuser-Busch to say, oh, we don't mean to be in the conversation that's dividing people. Well, you have to pick. You can't be on both sides so that you always win. You have the power.
And it remains to be seen how the bans on this, so for example, you serve alcohol in your restaurant. Do you serve Anheuser-Busch? And would you consider a ban the way that the Chicago bars are doing, the way the LGBTQ bars?
If they came down against the LGBT community, yeah, we probably would call it.
Most likely. But the thing is, Anheuser-Busch, for Anheuser-Busch to basically say that we are neutral, that falls into the trap that is set by organization, the so-called 1 million moms, which I'm pretty sure is just one mom and a bottle of wine, and
or 5 old men and
but anyways, they all saying that brands must be neutral since stay out of the culture war. That's not the point. Staying out of the culture war is code for ignore your minority customers and only cater to white cisgender heterosexual Christians.
Bobby, what would be interesting is this is no different really than where Disney started out in their fight against Don't Say Gay.
Well,
they took a very neutral position and didn't want to stand up.
And that's why Bob Chapek can't.
And then they caved, and if you want to call it cave, then went supporting their employees. And what is Anheuser-Busch going to do?
Well, Anheuser-Busch can say that out and loud. We are going to have rainbow-hued can in every Publix in the country. Go shoot it.
I'm curious from your perspective. What do you think about HRC's response? Do you think that they should suspend their 100% rating?
I am skeptical. I'm curious to see how much weight that holds, to see whether they care. And they are a huge, the brands that we showed just in the picture, that's not even all of their brands. They're an enormous employer, an enormous distributor. Speaking to their having to choose a side. If they want to vote like an individual, then and have rights like individuals, then they need to take a stance like individuals. But I think it'll be interesting. I hope they care. 100% that should say that they've been doing the work and that it should matter. So I'm hopeful.
I'm going to play devil's advocate at Queer News tonight. AB Bev put in all of the work. They have a 100% rating at the HRC, which already indicates that they put in all of the work. I think in general, the LGBTQ community gets lost in the fact that this was not a marketing campaign at Anheuser Busch. This was an embracement of the celebrity of her and creating a specialty can as a reflection and support of her, not as a marketing campaign at Anheuser Busch. And it went all awry. And and some people are going to make the argument that if we heavy threat the boycott or whatever the degree of what we're talking about, it has chilling effects on our business allies, because at the end of the day we're talking when we just said in the story, we're talking about a single can was prepared. And she does the embracement. It is not a rejection of drink.
I would agree with you as well, as if they've done all the work in their employees they're still treating the employees, which is what got them the 100% rating. That hasn't changed.
Yes.
So pulling it, like, what do? We're slapping them on the wrist and punishing their employees. I mean, like, if they don't change the way they do business internally, I don't know that you pull away the 100%. I understand why we want to make a statement, but again, like, back to your point, Al, is about our allies, and they're still in our back court. We just don't like this thing that's happened now and how they've handled it.
Well, the only critique is that they could have come out stronger. They could have. They came out with a lukewarm, like, oh, we just want to be neutral. Okay,
Some advisor.
You can't really be neutral.
But on the other hand, I was going to say that while the embracement is great, and I think, and it's not like Dylan got put on a poster, right? I mean, there's no actual advertising of her. On the other hand, oh, now I lost my train of thought. What was? Okay, never mind.
Well, real quick. I mean, they're not even, just one can. They didn't even create a campaign with her in it. But there are plenty of other huge brands that have, like Nike, that's just the first one that comes to mind. That it just really speaks to, I think, how much hatred there is for trans women, and how a few years, even just 5-10 years ago, it was less so.
Oh, much less so. But I got my train of thought back, is that the boycotts don't work. I mean, the American Family Association, whatever they call themselves, tried to boycott Disney for 2 decades. Didn't work. Right now, 1 Million Moms, again, is complaining, encouraging boycotting Target, because they, every year, Target launch an LGBTQ clothing collection. That doesn't work.
Let me ask one more time in terms of being the naysayer, of propelling conversation. If Anheuser Busch doesn't reply to this letter, and Anheuser Busch says, okay, do whatever you want, does that change one iota of what Anheuser Busch is to our community and their commitment to our community?
No.
So if not, what's the big deal? What is the issue here? What is the hill that we're willing to die on?
I don't think we should die on it, but I do think that it would be disappointing that they aren't willing to say this matters to us. They're particularly keeping the score, or even, I think, it shouldn't be something that happens in the court of public appeal. It should be a private conversation.
And to that point, I just want to try to get clarity. Do you, from your seat, you don't speak for all trans people, I understand, but from your seat, do you think Anheuser Busch is not a gigantic ally of the LGBTQ community? And I'm including the T in that they're not a gigantic ally.
I mean, I think an ally also has to not be, or has to also speak up when there are attacks against the group that they are saying they're an ally of.
Yeah.
But this might also be a case of HRC's reputation of being a little out of touch and a little full of themselves. That's very possible too.
Yeah. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.